You know the monkey's paw? You wish for something, you get exactly what you wish for, just not the way you wanted it. Bloodborne fans have been asking for a sequel for 10 years. 10 years of petitions, memes, our hopes and dreams. And we know From Software heard them. They clearly heard them. You watch the Duskbloods trailer and it's right there. The gothic architecture, the lore around blood, the aggressive, fast paced combat, and the moonlit streets. It's undoubtedly Bloodborne. But it's a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive, and it's multiplayer. All the while, Sony still owns the actual Bloodborne IP, and it's sitting on a shelf collecting dust, essentially. Was this actually a mistake on their part? Should From Software have just made Bloodborne 2 and made bank? Now, before I get into that, when I watched this trailer, my brain immediately went to two places: Bloodborne and Night Rain, which I actually really like Night Rain, so I've seen how From Software handles this kind of multiplayer experiment, and that's going to matter later. We'll get further into that. Because I think a lot of people still don't fully understand what the Duskbloods actually is based off the trailer alone. So, the Duskbloods is a PvPvE multiplayer action RPG. It's up to 8 players and a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive, directed by Miyazaki himself, which is good news. Your characters are called the Bloodsworn, vampire-like beings who have been summoned across collapsing timelines to fight for something called First Blood during an event called the Twilight of Humanity. That lore justification is doing a lot of work because it means the map spans completely different time periods. Victorian Gothic cities, late to early modern settings with trains, and apparently at some point someone turns into a T-Rex. Different eras colliding into one apocalyptic arena. Miyazaki did a big interview with Nintendo after the reveal, and he described the Bloodsworn as, and I'm paraphrasing, not the horrifying monster vampires, but the romanticized vampire. The Bram Stoker version rather than Nosferatu, for example. And blood in this game is conceptual. It represents history, legacy, fate, which is very From Software. I have a feeling the lore of this game is going to be pretty solid. There are over a dozen characters, each with their own weapons and abilities, and the movement is completely unlike anything they've made before. We see double jumps, super jumps, and flight via steampunk suits. Miyazaki said even basic sprinting is designed to feel dynamic and stress-free, which sounds promising and carries the Night Rain movement even further. And I'm pretty late reading Miyazaki's creator's voice interview with Nintendo, but a lot of awesome things were revealed in that interview. The structure of the game is you're in a hub and you join a match, pick your character, customize them, drop into the match, and come back with rewards, win or lose, and then repeat. Most matches are last player standing, but not all of them. Some have cooperative boss fights where everyone can benefit. Some have completely different victory conditions. And here's the thing Miyazaki said that actually got me. He said he personally isn't a PvP person, so he built a system called Victory Points, where you don't have to win every fight to win a match. You can play opportunistically, avoid combat entirely, hit other objectives, and still come out on top in the end. And the 8-player lobbies are interesting. I want to see how they pull that off compared to the 3-player lobbies right now in Night Rain, where you're teamed up. Then there's the role system. Before a match, you can designate someone as your destined rival. You defeat them for bonus rewards, or a destined companion. Find them, bond with them, and get something else entirely. Miyazaki compared it to tabletop RPG roles, which is a unique system we haven't seen before in these games. It means every single player in a match might be pursuing a completely different hidden objective simultaneously. That's a genuinely cool idea. The lore is also delivered differently. Instead of item descriptions, which is the classic FromSoft thing that we all know and love, world building is embedded in character customization. You customize your Bloodsworn's blood history and fate, and it unlocks fragments of the story. So the way you build your character is also how you learn the lore, and that's pretty clever. That's the kind of thing From Software does that other studios just don't think about. Okay, so back to the real question. Should this just have been Bloodborne 2? Think about it from a purely business perspective. Bloodborne is one of the most beloved games From Software has ever made. It has a fan base that has spent a decade demanding a sequel. A Bloodborne 2 on PS5, the same gothic world we see in this trailer, the same combat, Miyazaki directing, that thing would have sold insane, easily. And it would have been a cultural moment. Instead, they made a Nintendo exclusive multiplayer game that takes Bloodborne's aesthetic and wraps it in a completely different structure. And I really understand why Bloodborne fans are upset. I think they're entitled to be upset. That world could have been a single player game for the PS5. The IP already exists. The audience is there. People love the original so much they just want something that's at 60 frames per second at this point. In other words, the demand is real. But Sony owns Bloodborne, and apparently nobody could make that happen. So From Software went to Nintendo and made this instead. So that's what we get in the end. You get the gothic world, the adjacent lore, the lore that seems pretty similar to Bloodborne, at least from what we've seen so far. The aesthetic, but not the game. Not the sequel everybody wanted. And the Switch 2 exclusive part genuinely limits the audience. This isn't on PlayStation, and it's not on PC. It'll probably never leave the Nintendo ecosystem. You have to buy a new console to play it if you don't have one already. And that's a real barrier that a Bloodborne 2 on PS5 never would have had. I imagine there's more From Software fans with PS5s versus Switch 2. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So yeah guys, on paper, this might be a mistake for From Software. A huge misread of what the audience wanted. But let's play devil's advocate here for a second. I also went into Night Rain a bit skeptical, so From Software doing multiplayer felt like a weird experiment, but it really ended up clicking with me. The boss encounters were great, and it showed that this studio can actually do multiplayer when they're intentional about it. The Duskbloods looks like they took Night Rain and asked, what if we went further? More RPG systems, more character depth, more dynamic moment-to-moment play. The roles mechanic alone is something I haven't seen in any multiplayer game. It's ambitious in a way that feels very Miyazaki. He always likes to add new systems and things to the game that end up being pretty unique and fun. And Miyazaki said something in that interview that I keep coming back to. He said this doesn't mean From Software is shifting to multiplayer. They're still making single player games. This is just a side project that grew into something bigger when Switch 2 hardware opened up alongside its online possibilities. So don't worry, this isn't the future of the studio. It's an experiment, a very ambitious, very expensive experiment, but it seems like they're sticking to what they do best. I'll end up getting it day one, and I'll be letting you guys know what I think, because if this works, if the loop is as good as Night Rain's and the systems are as deep as they sound, this could be something completely new, something nobody else is making. But I have to admit I'm a little worried because the performance, and you guys know this is a Switch 2 exclusive, fast multiplayer action RPG, superhuman movement, 8 players in a match, probably a large world. I would rather this game be uglier and run at 60 frames per second than look incredible and stutter, but given that it's on Switch, might be both. Really worried about that. For single player From Software games, I can live with some performance issues, they're there. But for a multiplayer game where you're getting killed in real time, I can't. Bad performance isn't just an inconvenience, it can completely kill this game. And Nintendo's online history is not good. Animal Crossing had you jumping through hoops just to visit a friend's island. Switch 2 now charges you a subscription for party chat, which is ridiculous. There are always weird quirks with how Nintendo handles online infrastructure, and From Software before Night Rain wasn't super clean either. Their multiplayer features always had some jank to them. Night Rain finally felt smooth, but Night Rain is on PlayStation and PC. This is Nintendo hardware. That's a completely different ask. The whole game lives or dies on the online working, and until I see it running, I really don't know. So, biggest mistake? Maybe not, but From Software is taking a huge risk here, and that's the stuff that I'll be watching when this thing launches. Subscribe if you want to find out with me. Maybe I'll do some community matches or stream the game when it's out. And drop a comment. Do you think they should have just made Bloodborne 2? When do you think the Duskbloods will drop this year? Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.